Why is this watch worth 90,000 euros and even more? And why has its value jumped more than 30,000 euros in basically one day? If you want to know, check out this video. So hi guys, and welcome back to the Watch Scientist channel. I'm Nelly and you join me at Watchour in Luxembourg city center. I'll leave all their links to the shop in the description. The watch that we are filming today is for sale as well, so if you're interested, do let them know. So a big thanks to Watchour for letting us film in their location and for letting us film an incredible watch today. We are filming obviously the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711A. So this is one of the most sought after luxury or high-end luxury sports watches, and it's pretty impossible to get. So in this video I'll talk about why this is the case, and more importantly later I'll talk about what made the value of this watch grow consistently over all these years and what made the value jump 30,000 euros in 24 hours just last week. So this watch doesn't really need an introduction, and I'll jump straight into the dimensions and the general facts of the watch, and later I'll talk a little bit about the history and why the watch is so valuable today. So we have a 40mm case diameter with a stainless steel case and bracelet. We have a sapphire crystal on the front and on the back of the watch, so we have an incredibly beautiful case back. And this is honestly one of the highlights of this watch, displaying the beautiful in-house movement, the caliber 324, which I'll come to talk about a little bit later. So the case is made out of 3 pieces, unlike its predecessor, which was a monoblock case. Now the 3 pieces make it easier to maintain the watch and also to produce it. So it is consistent of the main container, the bezel and the case back. Then we have a beautiful bracelet that flows into the case design, and it makes the watch flow so seamlessly. So it's just a very sleek design. And same goes for the clasp. The clasp is basically a hidden clasp, or as you might say, a butterfly clasp. So you don't actually really see it. And that again adds to this very beautiful, luxurious, sporty and elegant design. With the bracelet then we have polished center links, which are absolutely beautiful, and honestly I never used to really like the bracelet of this watch until now that I actually have the watch in my hands, because it looks so much better than on the pictures on the internet. And honestly, everything about this watch is just incredible in the way that it's finished and the kind of sleekness that you have in the design of this watch. It's very thin, so the watch sits at 8.3 millimeters only, a very thin and sporty, elegant watch. Then we also have a screw down crown, which allows the watch to have a water resistance of around 120 meters. And 120 meters is a very good number for a sports watch. It's not a dive watch, so you can go swimming with this, and that is honestly more than enough. So let's get to talk about the movement. The movement that we have inside this watch and that you can actually see on the case back is the caliber 324 SC. So SC stands for Seconde Centrale in French, which means central second. And unlike its predecessor that hasn't had a seconds hand, this now indicated when this watch came out that a new movement was added to this reference. And it is a movement that is obviously in-house from Patek Philippe, and it is a very simple movement. The only basically complication that we have is the date window at 3 o'clock. But more importantly, it has a power reserve of 35 to 45 hours. And we have a beautiful Patek Philippe seal on the 21 karat gold rotor of the watch. The movement is made out of 217 parts, 6 bridges and 29 jewels. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, to understand what makes the watch so special, it is worth looking at the history a little bit. So It was designed by the famous watch designer Gerald Genta, who also designed Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak. And I say this because it's very significant. This watch came out in 1976, only 4 years after Gerald Genta designed, or no, actually 4 years after Audemars Piguet released their Royal Oak. And what made it so significant is that both watches were kind of groundbreaking in terms of design and function. So they were kind of the first high-end luxury Swiss-made sports watches, in that they were made out of steel. Their design, sleek, elegant, yet sporty. And that kind of stirred up a high interest in the watch community, and that interest has been there since those watches came out up to this day. And more importantly even so, the Nautilus is actually a direct competitor, you could say, to the Royal Oak from AP, because they are so similar in so many different ways. And so this direct competition between those watches kept both of them relevant for so many years and kept so many people interested in those watches. But today we are talking about the Nautilus in and of itself. So another point that is very important with the history of this watch is that the design didn't actually change over all those years. There have been minor reconfigurations of the dimensions. However, the main design features of the watch have remained the same, and that's one of the most important features of this watch. So it's still very true to its original design, and that's something that collectors can appreciate. And the best thing about it is that the dimensions have evolved to modern design standards while still respecting the original design of the watch, and that's something Patek Philippe have done exceptionally well with this watch. But why is the value of this watch so high? Why has it been growing ever since it came out? So one of the most important references came out in 2006, obviously, to mark the 30th anniversary of the Patek Philippe Nautilus. And at the beginning, this watch sold for around 14 to 15,000 euros in the shop. However, as we know it from Rolex as well, if you have a high demand for a product and the supply is low, it will drive up the price. We have seen this system work over and over again with many different Rolex models, so why shouldn't it work for Patek Philippe? And it worked indeed very well. If we look at the price curve of the Patek Philippe Nautilus, we can see that over the years the value of the watch on the second market has been growing so consistently. It's incredible. And if you think that Patek Philippe could only satisfy about 10% of the demand for this watch, you slowly start understanding why the value just keeps rising. So then later on the price jumped again up to around 50 to 60,000 euros up to very recently. But then obviously we have this jump that I mentioned in the intro of this video, and this is the jump where the watch basically goes from a value of 60,000 euros to all of a sudden more than 90,000 euros. And the reason for this is that there were, first of all, rumors that Patek Philippe would discontinue this watch, so that means that they would not produce it anymore. And when those rumors started circulating in the watch community, you could see a rise of the value again from around 60,000 to around 70,000. And then last week on the 25th of January 2021, Patek Philippe officially said that they will discontinue this model. And that's when all hell broke loose, and the value of the watch jumped to around 95,000 euros, which is absolute chaos. Now, why does this watch have the value that it has inherently without now looking at the hype that is out there? And I found no better way of putting it than by the watchlounge.com. They said there are 6 factors contributing to the value of this watch and basically putting it where it is right now. And those 6 factors are the quality, scarcity, the versatility, the the prestige, the significance, and the investment value. And we'll go into these 6 factors one after the other. So quality, obviously we know what we get with Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe is a brand that is symbiotic with the meaning of high-end luxury, and everyone knows what Patek can do. We don't even need to go into further detail with that. But then scarcity, as I said, the demand for this watch is very high compared to the supply. And if you have a product that is sought after like this watch, and you don't make that many issues of it, the price inevitably goes up, or at least the value on the second market. So then we have world-renowned prestige, and everyone knows that Patek Philippe is a highly world-renowned brand. Even people that aren't interested in watches know the brand, and you know, many rappers are using Patek Philippe's to flex in their songs. It used to be Rolex, now it's Patek Philippe, and that's basically prestige. You don't need to know the brand, but you just know it's good, you just know it's luxurious. And then after prestige, we also have the factor of versatility, and I said that for me is one of the most important factors of this watch and for watches in general. If you are able to wear a watch with any attire, and I'm talking any attire, that's just for me a point that makes a watch stand out. It proves that the watch is perfect in many ways. Then we have significance, and the significance is what I just told you before this. So the history of the watch, its direct competitor, the Royal Oak, and that interest that has been there for over all these years. And that obviously is something important for watch collectors as well, knowing that they have a watch that is significant in many different ways, and history is obviously one big important part of that. And then the last factor is obviously the investment value, and that is kind of a factor that plays into itself, because we talked about how sought after it is, so that obviously made the value go up. Everyone wants it, everyone knows how valuable this watch is, and that indirectly or kind of directly makes it an investment item, even though I personally don't like to think about watches as an investment, because I like watches, so I don't want to buy watches to sell them. If I buy a watch, it's for my own use or as a present to someone else, but I don't like the idea of buying a watch just to sell it. But obviously it is an investment, because if we are talking about tens of thousands of euros and something that is probably still likely to grow, it also is an investment item. And so that for many people is kind of a reassuring idea, knowing that they spend so much on jewelry or on a watch, and they know if they need to, if they have to, they can easily sell it and make profit. So these are all the factors that make this watch so special, and more importantly, that give it the value that it has today. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, this watch is available at Watchour Luxembourg, so do hit them up if you're interested. It is in perfect condition, it has everything you want, box and papers, and yeah, the link to the shop is in the description. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It would really mean a lot to me if you leave a like, and if you want to see more of this type of content, please subscribe to the channel, as it helps us out a lot. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Ciao.